the power of Grayskull. Autobots, roll out.
Morphin' time! Pull the call.
You have failed this city.
Winter is coming.
Star-Lord.
Finish him. Hadouken! Fatality.
And welcome to Free Your Geek, episode 30, a Rogue One review. I am your host, Jay Free. To my direct left is my co-host, KB.
What's going on, brother?
And to the far left of myself, I'd like to officially welcome our co-host number 2, the Don.
Thank you.
And what's your new catchphrase now? What are you going to be calling yourself?
I'm the Don, the people's geek.
Can you smell what the Don is cooking? And our very, 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 very special guest, Johnny Leather is here, but in an effort to conceal his identity, he is skinned Chewbacca. So we are now going to be calling him Johnny Wookie.
What's up?
What's up, Johnny? How you doing?
Great.
Great. We're all here today to discuss Rogue One. We're going to review it. So there's a little label up there in the bottom corner saying spoilers. Spoilers.
I also want to spoil the crap out of this.
Yeah, we are. But before we get into that, I want to talk about our sponsors. And before we talk about our sponsors, I want to talk about the little recap on the video. For those that are watching live right now, we have the text saying we're running the contest. That contest is over, so do not feel the need to share to win an Xbox One.
Yes.
Thank you. But feel free to share if you're just a geek and you like to share stuff, because we could definitely appreciate the views. And Don,
sharing is
doing
caring.
Is that the people's eyebrow?
That's
the geeky eyebrow?
geek's eyebrow.
Yeah. But before we get into the content for today, you see above KB's head over here, we have our lovely sponsors, Phoenix Marketing. They're hiring right now, so you see the number on the screen. Pachico's Furniture, and we also have Unique Customs. So 3 of our very special sponsors. If you're ever looking for any type of furniture, DVD, games, check out Pachico's Furniture. If you're looking to have your computer fixed or some custom labels made, perhaps, check out Unique Customs. And if you need help advertising, Phoenix Marketing. Why not? Go for it. And they're also hiring, so check it out. That being said, gentlemen, Rogue One, a Star Wars story, which, by the way, first little spoiler alert, on the opening title, they didn't call it a Star Wars story, just Rogue One.
No, just Rogue One. That was cool.
Rogue One.
So I think the format that we want to go through today, and my idea, is to start with basically everyone's overall thoughts. We'll go through that. And then we'll talk about your favorite and least favorite characters, and we'll talk about just the characters in general. Don, I know you do have a list, because I am super lazy and forget to bring my list. So thank you. See, already like reaping the benefits of having a second co-host here. So thank you for that.
No problem.
So we're gonna go through that, but let's start. We'll start with our guest, Johnny Leather, aka Johnny Wookie. Your thoughts of Rogue One? Just some basic thoughts. We won't go too spoiler heavy right now, but I just want to see just your initial feelings and go for it, and then we'll go to Don and KB.
We're not talking about Manchester by the Sea?
No. Oh, no, when I said the movie of the year.
Well, I mean, that's my movie of the year. But if we're going to go to Rogue One, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Had no problem with no title scroll. And, I mean, a lot of the feedback is that it was slow, but it's a war movie. You know, they took time to develop all those characters, but I really enjoyed it. And the final act is pretty much one of the best I've seen in a Star Wars movie.
Okay, so first, little spoiler alert. We talked about it last week. No scrolling title, so that was true from what we heard. We'll go over to Don now. Don, your initial thoughts?
So I got to throw it out there that I saw this movie deathly ill. All right.
You seemed a little off when I seen you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about that first. KB and Don were not communicating with each other. They ended up at the same theater at the same showing. So that was
Didn't know it until we walked out.
Oh, and you didn't
We
even know
didn't
you
know
were there.
until we walked
so you're
out,
both
yeah.
in the same theater.
Yeah.
So see, this is what he did. You're now when he was offering you the co-host role, he should have bought you like popcorn or
Oh,
something,
man.
and he's skimping out on that. So
Yeah, well, I don't have a paycheck from Jeff yet, so.
I don't have a paycheck from 59 Media yet. So
Hey.
hey, we're paying it forward. Let's. So you were deathly ill.
So there's the dedication right there. I still drag my butt to the movie, and so like that. What everyone's saying is, that it is like had slow parts and everything. I agree with the slowness of it, but at the same time, you had the equal proportion of crazy, wild battles. Like you had witty characters, you had characters you wanted to hate. There was everything in it, and I completely agree. That end sequence on the beach was amazing. I was a big fan.
KB.
Fantastic. I mean, it was more than what I expected. I kind of like the route where it's going. I think that I like that it. Spoiler, as we have the sign, it ends where A New Hope begins.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting. The way they did Leia and all that. That was fantastic.
Oh, Don wants to say something.
Yeah.
I like this.
Yeah. So go ahead, Don.
Oh no! Tell me it wasn't so cool. Like last week we were talking about who are we gonna see from the past movies? How about them bringing characters back from the
Yes.
dead?
Yes.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yes.
That's it. The New Age and Leia looked phenomenal.
Yeah. And it was nice to see Senator Organa by what's his name? Trying to think of the actor's name.
Benjamin Bratt.
Jimmy Smits.
Oh,
Jimmy
Jimmy
Smits
Smits.
Jr.
Wow.
I love seeing Jimmy Smits.
They look
Sons of
alike.
Anarchy guy, one of my favorite shows. So love seeing him back in the film. But another huge spoiler, and I love it. I'm going to give Disney credit for this because we had talked about characters, and I know we're going to get into the characters individually. I didn't particularly, not going to say I hated all the characters or hated every one of them, but none of them overly stuck out to me. It's like there wasn't one
true.
overing
Yeah.
power character. Like Jyn Erso, even as a main character, wasn't like an overpowering presence. It was about the Rogue One mission.
Yep.
And that's one of the things I really loved about it. So I'm going to give Disney props for not selling out and trying to sell us on a droid. What was the droid's name?
K2S.
So
Phew.
he was enough. Like that was enough. It
Yeah.
wasn't oversold like BB-8. I love BB-8, but still he's like oversold. It's an attention grabber. They didn't do any of that. There wasn't a lot of commercialism. And think about up to when this movie came out, we didn't see a lot of trailers. We
That's
weren't
true.
seeing a lot of trailers on TV and stuff. We weren't seeing a lot of like extra hype that they usually do for these movies. But most of all, they allowed them, spoiler, they allowed them all to die.
Yeah.
And that's a bold move for the Disney company to do something like that. So I give them props for not selling out on this movie and truly making it great.
You made such a perfect point with that. To the point where I had to print out this sheet to remember these characters' names.
Yes.
Yeah,
because no one was the standout in this movie. There was no Finn. There was no Rey. We weren't getting Han Solo again like we got.
Or in-depth story of
Exactly.
anybody. Exactly.
That was good. And I also got to give Disney props for the fact that we had such a multicultural cast in this movie.
That's the other thing.
Like, one of the main characters, which we have to say one of, because actually they're almost all main characters in this
It's the mission.
movie.
The mission is the main focus, the main character.
I mean, we
yeah.
had Mexicans, we had Asians, we had another black lead, we had women, we had everything. Disney gave us the multicultural cast in this movie, and that's really big, you know?
Yeah, you had another strong female lead.
Yeah.
So that's
And an interesting side on that is because in A New Hope, it's obviously not nearly as diverse.
Yep.
And they pretty much killed all the diversity.
and there's a few more women in the galaxy now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is awesome. So I too, I know I mentioned last week that I wasn't going to see it, and I wanted you guys to sell me on it. But by
Jeff, you're so hot.
yeah, that's
Hey.
thank you, Elizabeth. That's my cousin's wife. She's awesome.
Okay. You had to finish that
Yeah, I
sentence
have to.
real
I have
quick.
to. Yeah, she is awesome. It's my cousin's wife. She's awesome. No, but I saw it when one of my best friends happened to have an extra ticket, and he said I was supposed to go with my wife. She doesn't want to go. Do you want to go? I said sure. Why am I going to miss that opportunity? So I went, and I thought it was serviceable. I liked it. I wasn't blown away by it. I agree with KB. Again, spoiler alert. but everyone dies in the end. It's essentially a suicide mission that they go on. And they kind of had to do it that way because none of those characters, since to your point, as soon as that movie ends, episode 4 starts. And none of those characters exist in episode 4. They were never talked about. They were only said, a lot of the Alliance died, a lot of rebels died to get these plans, so they had to kill them all off. That's kind of the point. Let's talk about some of the characters now, though. So, Don, you said like they were all pretty much main characters, right?
In my opinion, yeah,
Okay.
I definitely would say so.
Let's talk about, and I'm gonna be total noob at this because I don't remember any of the names myself. Just start with our favorites. Who is your favorite?
K2SO.
Okay. Reasons why?
Personality. I mean, that droid had more personality than most of the humans in the Star Wars world, which is actually, if you pay attention, I'm not going to go all over the place in different other Star Wars movies, but you get more fear out of droids than you do out of leads in these movies. Like, you see how cautious C-3PO is, or, even the battle droids back in Episode 1, Episode 2, like...
They're a lot more apprehensive and scared,
It's so you get more human features out of droids in Star Wars movies. I mean, as far as, like, I'm concerned, like, how I look at it, I'm like this guy's sitting here cracking jokes, making...
I know, I had a thought for that. No, keep going your thought, but I want to debate that with you.
All right, so I mean, like, I know we gotta keep saying it. Spoiler alert. We
don't have to say that.
All right,
big
so
sign.
yeah, you guys see it.
It's on the screen. Spoilers. If you haven't seen Rogue One and you're going to see Rogue One and don't want to be spoiled,
Change the channel.
yeah.
That's-
or click off Facebook, but share it.
Just no. You know what?
Share it before you click off.
Share it or mute the volume for a minute. He calls Jen out for having a gun. He's like, why does she get to have a gun and I don't? What's up with that? Like there's when he catches the grenade, throws it back at the troopers. I mean, he's just hilarious. How did you know that wasn't me?
Even in the end, even in his end, he still maintained his
went out like a
personality.
champ.
Went out like a champ, and
He
yeah,
went out
phenomenal.
better than some of the other charers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
he went out.
man.
He probably is the biggest hero of them all, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Because if
No.
he doesn't do what he does, none of this happens. Those plans don't go.
So
anywhere.
here's my question: do we think that his personality, his backbone, for lack of a better term, just his basic demeanor, is it because he's a recommissioned, reprogrammed Imperial droid?
Reading up on it, that is part of the reason.
So because it's not it's a different, when you see like 3PO, for example, or R2 or any of the other droids, fighting on the side of the Alliance, it's almost like more, I don't want to say like free will per se, but it's more like concern and caring, kind of like a family member you want to feel a little bit closer to with when you're looking at like the Empire and the Imperial and stormtroopers and stuff. They're the no names that we want to see defeated. So to take somebody that at one point was evil and turn them, reprogram them, repurpose them for good, to have that backbone and kind of talk back, I think kind of lends weight to both the fact that it was evil at one point, or he was evil at one point, but now he's fighting for the side of good, but he still has kind of that edge, if you will. I don't know. That's my take on it.
Okay. As far as like the droids in general in Star Wars, I mean, I know that say Grievous, for instance, like he has components of his former self within that droid. So I can't use him really as a reference. But in the Clone Wars, Count Dooku's main battle droid, which I want to say is like a tactical droid or whatever, he is always like going against Dooku. Like, we're greatly outnumbered right now. Like, you can even see a fear in a droid who has no life. Like, he doesn't have a soul. I know that sounds weird, like theologically speaking or whatever, but this droid doesn't have a soul, and he has that, like, I don't know how to say it, like, like that sense of, like, you don't want to get hurt. Yep. Like, they have that sense. Like, and he is
self-preservation.
Survival kind of instinct.
Oh, thank you for picking up on that.
Hey, I got you.
So, I don't know. I think it's just a trait that Lucas threw in with the droids, and Disney like kept rolling with it. That's just it's all my opinion, though. It's not like a fact. Some people can look at it and say, oh, they only they're working off a processor, and this is what you're getting out of it. So I don't know.
Okay, so but to wrap it all up, your favorite character of the movie, was K2.
100%.
Okay.
I have a very close second, but
All right, let's do an honorable mention. Go ahead. Who is your close second?
all right. I'm just gonna say it like this: I am one with the Force, and the Force is with me.
That's awesome. I don't know his name. That's my pick.
I can't really say it. I mean, it's like Karuri.
Yeah, one thing with the names in this movie, I mean,
They
we
were-
had Han Solo, we had Luke Skywalker, real easy to remember names.
Princess Leia.
Princess Leia, exactly. Chewbacca.
Yeah.
In this movie, I mean, between the four of us, we can barely remember
Yeah.
their names.
Yeah.
You remember like basically 3 characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very true. Very true. Well, going on to Johnny Leather, your favorite character in the movie.
Well, my favorite character was Cassian Andor. And one of the things I liked about him is because this is a war movie, and you know sometimes you have to do some dastardly deeds. And at the beginning of the movie, pretty much right when it opens, there's sort of a double agent or a spy that he's working with, and you can tell that this spy he's working with is just gonna absolutely lose his shit. So he just cold blood shoots him in the chest and just lets him drop there, and then goes on with his mission.
Yeah. So the stormtroopers are essentially closing in.
Yes.
And they're trying to think, how are we going to get out of here? And he shoots him in cold blood and escapes on his own. And he's a good guy.
I dropped my gloves. Hold on. Pew, pew.
Yeah.
And I really wish there was more of the Saw Gerrera character. I mean, I figured he was barely in the movie, and there's quite a bit of history with him if you go back to the Rebels cartoon show.
I was gonna jump in with you. Well, I think that's what they're gonna make.
And
the
Forrest
push.
Whitaker was fantastic.
Yes, and such a high-profile actor. He was barely in the movie.
Yeah.
Could they possibly? I think they're planning on doing. I don't know what my friend John was telling me this. I think they're going to be doing a new series with him as the lead, and he's going to be voicing, I believe.
Well, no. What they're it's
so
not a
correct me,
it's not
correct
a
me.
new series. So what they're doing
So,
is
I don't
they're bringing him as a main character in Star Wars Rebels, the Disney XD show, and Forrest Whitaker is keeping his voice. You know, like he's playing the role.
They're going to make him more prominent then.
Very much so. I want to see if you guys notice this as well. With his character, because I'm sticking with his character with you. Did you guys notice his suit? Didn't that remind you of like an earlier version of a Darth Vader
Yes,
suit?
exactly. Especially with the breathing apparatus.
Yes.
That's interesting. I never put that.
No,
I just you just hit me, and it's just popping in my brain now, and I absolutely agree
And
with
even
you.
a little bit of General Grievous, because he had some sort of metal legs.
Yes. And you could see, like, you could tell it was an older generation model.
Yes,
like, all the stuff, you
exactly.
it was like pieced together almost. Because you could see he couldn't really fully, like, walk on it without his cane. You know what's crazy? Like, I'm loving this movie so much more talking to you guys about it now. Like, it's just, it's like refiring it.
And I think the more we talk about it and seeing it again and stuff like that, it's just gonna.
And
it's
the
gonna feel better.
details and the Easter eggs were amazing. Was quite a bit of fan service. Disney did a great job with this, their first standalone Star Wars story.
Right? I absolutely agree. KB, your favorite?
Boohie Rook, because I liked he was the one who got taken to what's his name? The guy we just talked about.
Yeah.
And he had the bag over his head, and he's like, "Oh, Galen has sent me this," and he's like practically pissing his pants.
Yes.
And we see this guy come through in the end in such a big way with getting the signal to go.
Oh, man,
And being
yeah.
just so brave and like, I can't do this, but he finds the will to do it. And I just felt like that was a
Brass
character that
balls.
just went from total puss to brass balls. Like
Yeah.
in the course of that movie. And I mean, that's what being a hero is all about, isn't it? Sometimes like you're overcoming your fear, you're overcoming your anxieties, you're overcoming to do what has to be done. So I really like the character, and I felt like him and the other guy, was it Christian? I felt like they were kind of like a duo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A little bit, and that he was kind of Christian's little voice of reason a little bit. So he was my favorite character because I just like, and maybe he doesn't stick out, maybe he doesn't, but the arc of him in the movie I liked.
But there's Disney again, multicultural. We have
Yep.
a Middle Eastern actor
Yep.
who's one of the leads in the movie. Very good actor. He was in a HBO show The Night Of. Phenomenal.
Yep.
I really, really like this guy. This guy played a very good part.
Yeah.
So
So he was my favorite.
My favorite was your honorary mention. I don't know the blind dude. I don't know his name. I can't remember his name.
it's KB said it better than I did.
It was Chewart Imwe.
Yeah. dude, kick ass. Like he reminded me from a comic standpoint for those fans of Daredevil. He reminded me of Stick. He reminded me like
Yes.
Like-
yes, he does.
like totally like he had the staff. He was one with the Force. He wasn't technically a Jedi because they said there were going to be Force sensitive people,
Yep.
but no Jedi.
This
Because
is what
no,
we talked about last
no
week.
Jedi
Yep.
exist at this point. So, or well, one Jedi exists technically. Okay,
No, two.
okay,
Yoda and Obi-Wan.
that's
Both
true.
are alive
That's
at
true.
this point.
That's true. See, again, I don't know. Not
And
as
I'm sorry.
good. No, good.
Luke is alive.
Technically, yes.
Yep.
But he wasn't. He wasn't.
Leia's technically alive. too,
Leia.
who's
Oh,
technically-
yeah. We
Okay.
can roll with this
Okay,
one.
so
And it's very plausible, but Anakin Skywalker's apprentice, Ashoka, may
If
be
he-
alive.
Yes.
I like
He's
him.
alive.
I like
Yes.
him. He's thinking.
Yes, that's true too.
So anyway, Force sensitive blind dude, and I just thought he was kind of like it reminded me almost of like a kung fu type of movie at the same time where he's
Donnie
just-
Yen.
yeah, and he was badass, and I loved it, and I just again spoiler alert, but they all die at the end, and they all go out as heroes. Again, not as cool as K2, but still, like the fact that these people or these beings kind of like all band together, and it's like especially ones that are Force sensitive, and they realize that this is a mission that needs to be done to help stop the Empire, bring down the Death Star, this whole thing. Crazy.
One thing on that, I would have liked a little bit more of a going down in a blaze of glory. I mean, we did have a little bit of that with the droid in his final battle, but in my opinion, it seems like, they all kind of knew what was happening, and I don't want to say they gave up, but they were just kind of just accepted it very quickly. I
Yeah.
would have really preferred a little bit more of the, guns ablazing, going out in style.
Yeah, I mean, you had the scene with Jin and Carisian, which was very
Kind of
dramatic.
Yes.
and
That I didn't mind, but
but then the other one was instantaneously when the ship blew up, like that's instantaneous.
Right, right,
Yeah,
but-
so I see what you're saying. It's missing that.
the guy with
Oof,
the
that
big
push,
kind of
yeah.
red gun,
Yep.
and then the blind guy, they did kind of, just kind of accepted it.
Baze. Baze is the guy with the gun.
Yep.
But that was cool.
It was cool.
Like he looked at I'm just gonna keep calling him Donnie Yen for now because I'm not gonna so he looked, he saw Donnie Yen die, and then like after all the time of him like kind of
Not believing.
mocking him,
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, you're one with the Force,
Like Han Solo not believing. in it,
Yes,
and then-
yes.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, I am one with the Force, and the Force is with me. Boom, click, click, boom. Like
Yeah.
that was
That's
cool.
Terminator stuff.
That was
Yes, Terminator
You
stuff.
want to stay alive? Come with me.
Yeah.
Oh,
basically.
man.
So so I'm gonna move on to another point with this though. What did we think of the main character? I mean, the intentional main character is Jyn Erso. What did we think of? What did we think of her?
Okay, so this is what I thought was pretty cool. She had the Kaido crystal around her neck the whole time from a
Yeah.
kid on.
I'm wondering if there's more to that. It seems
I-
a little out of place in this movie.
Well,
Like,
there is quite a bit to the crystals, and
Yeah.
one thing I think a lot of Star Wars fans kind of forget about, and it's a shame, is the Star Wars cartoons, Rebels, and I am absolutely in love with the Lego Freemaker Chronicles, because pretty much the whole first season has to do with them finding the crystals to try to keep them from the Empire.
yeah.
And if you want to know more about the crystals, definitely watch the Lego Freemaker Chronicles.
See, my background with the crystals is Knights of the Old Republic.
Yep.
Obviously,
'Cause
we
you're
had
building
to
the
build our
lightsaber,
lightsaber. What was I learned from this movie is basically that laser from the Death Star is like the
A giant
ultimate.
crystal.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate lightsaber
Yeah,
that
it
just
zaps through
can
and,
cut through
yeah.
the planet.
It's part of the reason why it's a green laser,
Yes.
like a lightsaber.
But now back. Not gonna have time. But what about get back to her character? What do
Okay,
you think
so
of her character though?
So I found her to be pretty cool.
She's serviceable. She's not.
This is I don't know how you guys are gonna see this. I saw a little bit of Rey in her.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, why are they playing this
Yeah.
card again?
Yeah.
And then like she ends up in jail, which was cool,
Yeah.
and then busts out and then tries
Yeah.
to run away from her rescuers. I thought that plot was cool.
I think her speech was a little overdone
Yeah,
because it was like, how did you get from that point to this point so quickly
yeah.
to being like kind of I don't care, all I care about is my dad kind of thing. To remember, she's like she didn't want to be there really. She's
No,
when she
she's
got
like,
busted
listen-
out. She's like when they busted her out, she's like I don't want anything to do with this. And then after her father is like all of a sudden she gives a speech like something out of Independence Day, and I'm like, where did that come from? You know
Yeah.
what I mean, so it was just maybe it's just the way her arc wasn't. I don't know, like her story, the way it flowed for me just wasn't there or something. Like
I think she got her her like brass vagina after seeing the
Great.
the
term,
the, the
great term.
hologram of her father and listening to that whole thing. Like he was specifically talking to her as if he knew that she would find
Yeah.
that. You know. It's funny when she meets Forrest Whitaker's character. She's like, all they wanted was an introduction. Introduction's done. I'm out of here. And then he's like, you know, she gets to see the whole like message, and then you see that spark in her. Like,
Yeah.
oh, like this is what's going on right now. Like, you know, they get the planet killer. Like,
Yeah.
I love how they threw Stardust in there. Like, you know, like that was cool. He was dropping hints without like saying, hey, the file's name is Stardust. You know,
Yeah.
it was cool.
There was a lot of subtlety there. My going back to kind of like the overall idea for the movie, like to me, it's essentially it's a movie explaining how A, the rebels got the plans to the Death Star, and B, why there was that flaw in the Death Star in the first place. And all I
Yeah,
could
it's
think
good to
about,
know.
all I could think about is that episode of Family Guy
Oh, damn you!
where Darth
Yeah.
Stewie is like, "Okay, wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask what the 2% was." And he's like, "Well, there was it's a design flaw, and we, if you shoot a laser at it, the whole thing explodes." Whoa! That seems like a pretty big deal. And he's like, "We can get an estimate." Yeah, get an estimate.
Yeah.
So to me, like that, I just like I can see like some executive or some filmmaker or a writer being like, we should come up with a movie explaining why that was made a flaw in the first place.
Oh, man.
And that's how this thing got greenlit. But I love the fact that like it's kind of it's not Star Wars 3.5, episode 3.5. It's kind of more like episode 3.999 because
It was
just,
right there.
Yeah, it just starts
Oh,
off
it
with
ends
That
right
was the
before
other
A New
thing I
Hope
wanted to
begins.
mention is Disney's left a nice gap still between 3 and this movie now, because you have like a 20-year period,
Yeah.
25-year period. We still don't see Leia and Luke growing up, and now there's still a whole separate thing they can do there. Like I feel like the way this movie was done, that they've intentionally left that block open for something else.
So now, when you and I saw each other
Yeah.
at the movie, and I told you, like, I'm a little confused. I thought it was a 3, movie thing. So this is my understanding now. The 3 movies that we're getting that are not in, trilogy form is what we just saw, Rogue
Yep.
One. We're getting Han Solo, and then Vader.
Yep.
So I believe the Vader movie will give us our in-between timeline,
Yep.
which would be pretty awesome. I mean, we get to see Vader, like, because you and I know from the video games, we get to see Vader going out hunting down
lot.
the rest of the Jedi
Yeah,
that are
where's
spread
that
out.
story? Yeah.
I think we're going to get that. That's
Yeah.
going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think too. So the Han Solo thing would probably take place. Well, would they do a movies between 4 and 5 though?
See, well, I thought
Well,
it's going to be a
And,
young
and another
young
movie between 5
Han
and 6.
Solo.
That's what I was thinking.
Well, the
I think
younger...
it is a young Han Solo. I think that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't going that way with it. The Han Solo, like, these are all standalone movies.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about. It's not in, like, order of
Right.
following this one specific
Yeah.
thing.
No, but the reason I brought that up was because I heard a rumor that Jin is actually going to be in the Han Solo movie.
So it's-
they're going to use that actress again playing Jin, and I wasn't sure where the timeline.
Well, with
Kinda
Han,
like-
Han Solo could fit in
Somewhere right
somewhere
with this
in the
timeline.
timeline actually that would make him still where we meet him. Han Solo is still that same age where we
because
meet him.
Who turned Jin into a criminal?
That would be awesome.
Like
that would
because
be
Think about it. We see her captured. Who turned her that way?
yeah.
Another thing that I would really hope they explain more in the Han Solo story, the reason why Chewbacca hangs out with Han Solo is there's some time in the past where Han Solo saved Chewbacca's life.
Yes.
And in the Wookiee culture, whoever does that, you have to stay with them until you
It's like a life debt.
Yes, ultimately repay the life debt or save his life. So the young Han Solo story, if it goes
Hold on there,
why it it explains Chewbacca's, how Han
There we
Solo
go.
saved Chewbacca, I would love to see that.
That'd be cool. I like the little cameo from old Vagina Mouth and his boy.
Yes,
My
yes.
friend doesn't like you. I don't like you either. He did look like he had a camel toe for mouth. I'm
No,
just
I was going to say this is the second time in about 5 minutes
You
you've
dropped
mentioned
the term
vagina. I think
put it on the board.
if you're going to be doing if you want to take your kind of like persona from The Rock as the Don, instead of calling somebody a candy ass, you can call them, what do you call it, brass vagina?
Brass vag.
There you go. We're gonna have to put like a PG-13 parental advisory.
Well, no, I mean I'm
We need
using
to copyright that and get T-shirts made.
there you go. Hashtag.
I'm being politically correct though. You know,
No,
like,
absolutely, absolutely.
it's very PC.
Well, speaking of that, I did while in Florida. I did hook up with Chewbacca mom, and now I look like this. So,
Hey,
there you
it
go.
but,
happens.
I mean, she's got really nice pair of tauntauns. So,
It's
Johnny
contagious.
Leather.
Oh
Johnny
no.
Leather. Johnny Leather. Like I said, I'm going to call him Johnny Wookie just for this show. But yeah, we're so happy. Johnny actually drove down, and how long of a drive you usually take to get here?
this was about 2 hours. I'm somewhere north of Boston. I mean, some people are always looking for Johnny Leather, so I don't like to really give too detailed. But I'm somewhere north of Boston. But it was very well worth
Kind
the
of like
drive.
a Where's Waldo type of thing.
Did you make it here in less than 12 parsecs?
I did.
Ooh,
I
that's
did.
good. That's good.
Yes.
See, Star Wars humor, Star Wars jokes, which I don't get half of, but that's okay. Speaking of not getting stuff, any characters that we just weren't feeling in the movie?
You want to go first? Because I need a moment to think. Just to be. Oh, actually, you know what? Yes.
Okay, go for it.
All right. Here's his name. I did not care for Old White Shirt director
Really?
Orson. I just felt like this is ready. My opinion. I felt like he was so whiny. Granted, yes, hey, he got ripped off. He got ripped off real bad.
Yeah.
You got
But I
royally
mean,
screwed.
he was like crybaby status the whole time. This is my work. I'm the one doing this. You know, like you have to play the game. Like, you know, in the game of Star Wars, you have. It seems like you have to do these
You
things.
live or you die.
You
Was
live. or you die.
there? Speaking of that, is there a political statement here? If you think about it, like all the commanding officers are whitey,
Yeah.
and all the rebels are.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Wow.
That's
Is
probably a subliminal message right there.
It's
or
kinda-
at least to identify with how culture
Well,
perceives government and power.
The Empire,
especially
is,
at that time.
Yeah.
and the Empire
ri-
is heavily,
Yeah.
heavily influenced by the Germans and the Nazis from World War II.
Yes.
I mean, everything from the Stormtrooper
Yeah.
helmet, the Darth Vader helmet. So that probably is exactly what they were going for.
we are
Yeah.
getting very political here on Free Your Geek.
Well, no, I mean, we're just
Well, Star
dropping-
Wars is so much deeper than just what you see.
Well, no, I
you
think
know?
I think it's a good thing because like this type of world, this universe, for lack of a better term, has such a hold on like young people now. Like they're getting into it. You know,
You're
the
getting
old-
back into it. Yeah.
Right, the older generation, you know, or just like you know when we were kids and then our parents before us that were like young adults when these movies first came out, like that's crazy. Like the fact that it can speak to that and basically reach all these different generations and kind of put that like thought. I never even thought of that, and that's brilliant.
Just like comics is going to go on for
Yeah.
as long as it can, and the stories will always continue, and they'll just find new ways of creating new characters and new arcs, and that's what's amazing about these kinds of worlds. Just like Lord of the Rings, Game of these kinds of worlds are just phenomenal like this, and I think that's Lucas just really the world the universe that he created. It's just so much to it. It goes.
It's
I
endless.
think it's bigger than a lot of the other ones. Just in all the different types of stories we get, you can kind of compare it to like Greek gods and goddesses and Roman
Yes.
literature. Like,
He ties all that
Yeah,
in.
yeah,
He definitely
so-
does.
so there's a lot there, man, and I mean they can go on forever. So, so seeing a political statement in it isn't surprising to me if that's the case.
A good way to think of it is, I know I refer to the video game, but Knights of the Old Republic, when we were going from planet to planet, there's quest beyond quest beyond quest. There's so much stuff going on, and that's just the pinky nail of the Star Wars galaxy.
The thing of playing that game too, one of the things was you'd be on a planet and you're like, can I go further?
Yeah.
Can I go further into this planet and see what else is here? You always felt like that every time you found something like, ooh, this is a piece of Star Wars knowledge is now in my head.
Yes.
Something I didn't know before. So, it's just so expensive. But back to the movie, right? Let's get back
Yeah,
to that.
no. So that's your pick for the characters because you felt he was too whiny.
I felt, well, I mean, I don't want it to be just like about him being too whiny.
Maybe not enough interesting.
I think that he
Background?
was overshadowed by Turkin?
Yeah,
Grand Moff
Tarkin. Yep.
He like just seeing that character brought back from the dead.
CGI,
Like,
awesome. I could not
it-
tell that was CGI.
Oh man, like I started getting. I'm like, I saw my buddy Jeff. I'm like, Jeff, he's dead in real life. Do you know that? I'm like, look
20
at that.
years, died in 94.
Yes.
That's crazy.
And like, so of course, like, I'm seeing this. I'm excited about it. I'm liking this character's like a-hole personality. How he's like, listen, I'm gonna take all the credit for the work that you've been doing, and yeah, I'm gonna go tell the Emperor this. And then he tries to, hightail it back, maybe get some diagnostics or whatever he's going back to that planet for. It's not fresh in my head right now, but he gets there, and boy, does he get what's coming to him. Ha ha.
I'm really not surprised because, it is the evil Galactic Empire. I mean, they're very, very far, far away from the Care Bears or something. And so, I mean, you're really got to kind of expect that they're really going to screw each other over for their self-gain.
Very true. Very true. We'll go to Johnny Leather next. Your least favorite character?
Well, it wasn't my least favorite character, but I would have preferred it if I dialed back Leia a bit. I thought it was cool just to see her back, The digitized face, I didn't hate it, but I think it really wasn't needed. I mean, when the door opens and you see her from the back, I'm like, oh my God, I wasn't expecting that. It was a great shock,
You didn't need the face scene. You could have just done it out with just
I
seeing her
agree.
like that. You didn't need
I agree.
because you knew what was transpiring. You didn't need it.
And they did do a great job with the Leia face, but it's not nearly to the level of Moff Tarkin.
No.
One side note on Grand Moff Tarkin, there's actually a real deep history between Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, and Moff Tarkin. They pretty much came up through the ranks way back in the cartoon, either the Clone Wars or sort of the fights in the cartoons and the prequels. So much so that if you notice in A New Hope, Moff Tarkin, or Grand Moff Tarkin, refers to Vader as my friend, where pretty much everyone else calls him Lord Vader. And the reason for that is they see each other as equals because they did come up through the ranks together.
That's an
From
awesome
like a
point.
military perspective.
Exactly,
yeah.
yes.
A respect.
Mutual respect. Good shit.
You can. We put the explicit label.
I know,
on this.
I know. I try to keep it.
Yeah, we try to keep it PG, or at
family
least
friendly.
PG-13.
Yeah.
KB.
Wasn't in the movie very long, but the Lyra Urso, Galen's wife, because it was just so stupid. Like she's coming. He tells her to go. She comes back with a small blaster.
Yeah.
And just takes a shot. Like it just didn't ring with me. It didn't make any sense to me. Like
No.
I understand. Okay, they did it. It's one of those things that you did just for the sake of the story arc.
I think they did that to kind of explain a little bit more of Jin's personality and why she can be a little bit more rough around the edges, because
Which is fine to kill her, but
I
just
enjoyed the
stupid.
scene,
It's
but
kinda
I agree with you. You're going up. There's like a 6-man hit squad.
yeah,
Like, right there?
It just didn't really. You could have killed her found another way to kill her. Like I don't know. I didn't really like that. So she wasn't in it long, but that was probably my least favorite character because I think, like we said, a lot of these characters you don't really get to know a ton about any of them very long. The other one, I know like everybody's kind of liked the Chirrut Imwe thing. One with the Force. I am the Force. Blah blah blah. I wasn't probably feeling him as much as you guys were. I thought maybe they could have, I don't know, made him. It sometimes came off a little comical to me, if that makes sense.
He did come
It
off
was
very
awesome. It was
very
awesome.
comical.
Like when he was when they first met him, it was awesome. The walking through, I know, was kind of badass, but it kind of felt like a little pushed.
The thing with me is he reminds me of like the drunken karate master in
Yeah,
other
the
movies,
drunken
you know?
master,
Yeah, like that's what I was getting. And so when what's his name? Cassian. So when Cassian and Jin are like walking, and he's blind, so he's like, "Oh, you with the crystal, blah blah blah, around your neck, da da da." Like, so he may not be a Jedi, but he is very force
he's
sensitive.
very in tune.
So so she asks who he is, and that's the guardian of the Kaido crystal, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. I thought that was pretty cool. Obviously, they didn't do a hell of a job because the Empire came in and took everything. But I mean, that was their purpose, For all we know, like he could be from an ancient order of monks, who their main purpose was to protect them crystals, and they all got slaughtered, and he's the last remaining one. And, you know, he happens to meet up with this awesome badass of a guy.
Well, on that, in one of the early drafts of Star Wars, it was actually called Luke Skywalker and the Journey of the Wills, or something to that extent. And the Wills are a Force-sensitive group of people that actually predate the Jedi, predate everything. And I believe that blind guy is one of the leftovers of the Wills.
That would be awesome.
Disney really dug deep into the archives to pull out, sort of test material, test scripts or rough draft scripts from George Lucas. And one thing that I absolutely love that may have went over a lot of people's heads was the pulled footage from A New Hope of Rogue Squadron, the pilots. The pilots are actually...
We had another chubby pilot die, by the way.
Yes.
Why do you look at me when you say that, KB? That's kind of messed up.
Rest in peace, Porkins.
Red 1 checking in. Oh, no.
More like Red Ton.
Red Ton.
So I'm going to go to my least favorite character now.
He's like, KB.
Well, no, that's on this podcast. In the movie, I have to disagree with our special guest, Johnny Leather.
Oh.
I disliked, what's his name, Cassian Andor. Did not like him. And
Today you were like, he's a douche.
Yeah, I basically told that to KB at work today. We were talking about it. I said, yeah, I ended up seeing it. What do you think of it? And I said, it's cool. Like, I like how they used it because, again, it is wartime, so you do whatever you have to do to, in wartime to basically win. And the fact that he, like, basically cold-blooded murdered this dude, shot him.
Loved
it. So you liked it. I was like, I can't get behind that guy now. I don't see him as, a hero. I see him as kind of like a scumbag at the same
what's
time.
What's your take on Han Solo? And we do know that whole controversy.
Yes, but that's different because Han was
Shot
never.
first.
He did. He totally did. And I think that's the difference because Han was first painted as kind of like not an anti-hero, but kind of like straddling that line between,
But I think that showed Han's intelligence when he shot first.
Yeah, no, but what
yeah.
I'm saying is they didn't paint it as like, okay, he's in bed with the rebels and the Alliance and he's with them and he's all for the greater good and all this stuff and then shoot somebody. He was brought into that world and he was already that person. From my perspective, I mean, there could be difference. I know you guys.
I gotta jump in.
Go for it.
Okay, so
you're the expert, dude.
They're sitting there and they're talking. And they're saying we've all done terrible things for the rebellion, for this alliance. So I mean, that could be like the tip of the iceberg.
A rebellion is a group of rogues, really. if you think
exactly.
about it, at its nature.
And Cassian had a beautiful redemption point. He's sitting there with the sniper rifle, ready to take Galen out, and does not. And instead goes and helps her.
Right. I would have liked to have seen more of that internal struggle, though, like because it was just like they just went to that shot like a couple of times, and like he didn't really emote as much, in my opinion, with his face. Like
The actor wasn't showing the emotion.
Yeah, he wasn't struggling with that decision. Like, should I do this or should I not? It just kept showing him pulling up
like
the
his
scope
face
and
quenching or
kind
something,
of like just like struggling.
Yeah.
And then you go back and he's like, I got to do like you don't even have to say it, but just like show it a little bit more in your face, and then I could kind of get like the. Okay, he's basically having a battle with himself. Like, this is wrong to do this. She thinks she's going to be getting her father back, and they're going to rescue him. And my mission is to take him out. I didn't get that internal conflict, personally.
Okay.
Personally.
I mean, what we see, too. How about what we don't see? Like, his walk up there, we can imagine what's going through his head. He's got these orders, but now he's friendly with this girl. So we don't get to see like his facial reactions, but he doesn't pull the trigger. That's big. He doesn't pull the trigger. He doesn't finish his mission. Whatever. Cool part about that scene too is like K2SO is like, oh yeah, he had his gun on sniper mode, by the way. Like throwing him under the bus. That's his like. You can't say friend because it's a droid, but at the same time, it seems like them two are pretty tight.
Yeah.
Especially in the end when K2 died. Yeah.
Oh.
So before we get into like a ratings system here, I just kind of want to just overall thoughts first of all, and I want to do a rating scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst and 10 being the best. We're not going to do points, so you can't be like 6.5 or 7.8 and nothing like that. So just hold numbers. Overall thoughts of the movie as a Star Wars fan. again, I'm going to rate it on a scale of not being a rabid Star Wars fan, just a casual fan, where you three are way more passionate about it than I am. You guys geek out a little bit more for Star Wars than I do. So just, a few sentences, your overall thoughts, a message to somebody that wanted to hear the spoilers first for whatever reason before going to see it. I don't know why you do that, but we'll start with the Don. Just overall thoughts, and then give it a number 1 through 10.
Overall thoughts, it definitely met my expectations. Where there could have been more, I wanted more. Where there should have been less, it is what it is. I got the story I needed. I got the action I needed. I agree with KB. I like that there was not one standout character. A lot of people saying it's the best movie since Empire Strikes Back. I disagree.
That's pushing it.
It's definitely pushing it. I read on the internet these different things, and it's definitely not the second best Star Wars movie. Movie's very good. I will say I like The Force Awakens better, which a lot of people didn't. But for me personally, I like having Jedis around. I did not care for Darth Vader in this movie, which I didn't get to mention through the whole podcast.
Yeah,
but
we didn't
I
touch on that at all.
Before you give your rating, let's talk about Darth real
Yeah,
quick.
we can't do that without talking about
Okay,
Darth,
yeah. So, the one only cool thing I can say about Darth Vader in this movie is we saw Darth Vader in the healing tank. That was finally we get to see something. And in other Star Wars movies, I'm not sure if it's A New Hope. Yeah, it's A New Hope, where he's kind of sitting in his suit, though, in one of those healing pods or whatever.
It's putting the mask on him.
Yeah, we actually saw him in the hydro chamber, without any of his armor on. That was awesome. Everything else was everything in between.
Replayed.
Yeah.
Force choke. Replayed.
Yeah.
The whole.
But that scene.
It was cool.
Are we talking about what scene are we talking about? At the end, the literal right at the end where he comes through the ship and slot. That was intense.
Yeah.
But his helmet looked off to me, and anybody who I've brought this up to, it seems like he has a very much wider neck piece. The helmet was very disproportioned. I'm used to the old school.
He's a
Vader.
pop figure.
Yeah, I don't understand why they can't just use the same costume. It doesn't make sense. So I don't know.
They lost the specs.
They must have. You know what I mean? Call Dave Prowse up, ask him for the suit back, and let's make it happen. Thought it was cool that they got James Earl Jones to do the voice again. But everything with Vader, you're right. It was just replayed. It was stuff we've seen before.
But that scene at the end, I'm sorry. That was
Scene at the
badass.
end was phenomenal.
Badass.
It was, and it was actually better than what it showed in A New Hope when Vader makes his first appearance coming on the ship. Vader slaughtered those guys, and we saw stuff that we've never seen Vader do. That one scene right there saved Vader in this movie. Because if that scene was not in this movie,
Throwing the guys into the ceiling.
yeah,
and,
chucking them, boom, boom,
Yeah.
pulling 3 of their guns.
That's
that was cool.
horsepower we were talking about on
Yeah.
the last show that we were hoping to see more horsepower.
But take away that scene, Vader was not really anything special.
It's in there
this
for
movie.
a cameo
Yeah.
appearance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh look, there's Vader. Oh cool. Oh look, there's a guy with a vagina mouth. It was at that kind of level.
We gotta count. We gotta keep track of how many.
That's a
times
3
Tom says
timer.
vagina.
But that's it.
Yeah, that's okay. So number
Number on a scale from
1 to 10, 10 being the
1
best.
to 10, solid 7. Solid 7. Would I go to the movies to see it again? No. Will I watch it when it comes on TV or the Cody box in the clean edition? Yeah, because that's just me. I love Star Wars, and I'll definitely watch it again, but I won't pay money to go see it again.
Okay, cool. I'll go moving on to Mr. Leather.
I'm gonna give it a solid 8. I really enjoyed the movie. In contrast, I loved the Vader scenes. I think it was just the right amount of Vader. I love the non-stop killing machine, sort of serial killer march toward the end when he's just mowing everybody down. When it's that dark room and then you see the lightsaber turn on, really gives you chills.
Got to see Vader in his prime in that scene, and that's what it is. Because you think about it, you never really see Vader in his prime of actually fighting. Because in the other movies, it's kind of towards the end of his.
Yeah.
existence.
Because in our original trilogy, like Vader, his fighting was very subpar.
But technically, he's not really in his prime if it starts like right before.
Oh,
A New
actually,
Hope.
That's
good point.
Yeah.
So we'll see Vader in his prime if we get that Vader movie, picking up right from episode 3.
Imagine if that's him as an older person.
Well,
and how much more powerful
Powerful he
he's
is
going to
before,
be.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see that.
Whew.
But we cut off Johnny.
Yeah,
Sorry,
sorry,
Johnny.
John. We
Johnny,
went on a
we
tangent. We do that all over the show.
Yeah, solid 8. I love the action, love the Vader scenes. I could have gone with a little bit more going out in the blaze of glory. You know, I think that after the excitement and all of the newness of this dies down, it is a great movie. It is quite a bit better than the prequels. But I think It's Better or Just as Good as Empire will die down a bit once the newness or once that new car smell fades away.
Yep. Okay.
Very cool, very cool. KB?
I'm going to give it a number. The number I'm going to give it is an 8. So I think it was a really good movie. I'm giving it an 8 because, one, they made it work without any huge main character. They made a great movie without, because most movies, the whole point is having some main character that you make a plot around. This movie did not, and it succeeded. I'm also giving it an 8 because Disney didn't sell out on anything. The other thing I'm giving it an 8 on is the merge, and maybe it's an afterthought for most people, but they did a very good job of taking those timelines and with the technology we have in movies today, making it work without overdoing it. Because it's really easy to get into too much special effects and make it feel too new and too like, oh, it's this time frame, but it doesn't feel like that time frame because they're doing too much with the effects. I like that they did a good job of mixing like the old movies with the newer technology. But the storyline, it fits. It answers a lot of questions. So I just feel like it was an all-around good movie. There was a lot of good action scenes. Story kept you interested. And by not having a main character, you're looking at all these different places. You're not just focusing on one thing. So, yeah. So, definitely a solid 8. I will go see it again in the theaters because my wife hasn't seen it yet. And she wants to see it. But, yeah, I think it was overall really good.
I'm going to give it, just because I don't want you to be the lowest score. No, so when I say 1 to 10, I consider 5 being average. I'm going to give it a 6 because I think it's slightly above average.
It's all forced.
Yeah. Johnny Leather was all about that. No, I have a little gripe, and I wanted to bring this up to you guys, and I forgot to mention it earlier when we were talking about the plot. So the last, say, 30 minutes or so, the whole plan is, or the whole mission is to get the plans for the Death Star, and to give that back to the rebels and get it to the rebels. Communication gets shut down. In this technology where they can beam the plans through the satellite once they clear the static, why can't the ship they beam it to then beam it somewhere else? They have to put it on a disc where they're running through. I mean, granted,
a giant disc.
I know it sets up a New Hope, and it sets up Episode 4. But if they had the technology, why didn't they just beam it across to the other rebels, to the Alliance?
Well,
They don't
what
have
I would
cell
say
phones
on
to transfer
that-
this data?
Well, what I'd say on that is, I mean, this is the plans to something that is bigger than a planet. So it's got to be quite a bit of data.
Massive, yeah.
I mean, maybe we're kind of digging a little bit deep in about how can we transmit data files in space, but I would just have to assume that it's a crazy large file because it's plans and schematics of something the size of a planet. So it's not like you could fit
That's
that
no
on a
moon.
thumb drive.
This is what I think. Okay, we're talking about short range transmission. We're talking about from the surface of that planet to another ship. Do we even know how far away Yavin is
No, that's
from
a good point.
there?
That's a
Because
good
they
point,
had to
Jim.
cut through lights. They had to go in light speed
Yeah.
to get there. So I mean, we don't know if that technology is
could be.
present.
That could be. My other question was, so with these plans, is the flaw in the plans, or is now? So my question is, if the plans have the flaw in it, and where somebody needs to find it, the Empire's had these plans for God knows how long, since for 15 years, because that's the time frame of the movie from when Jin's a little girl until when she. They've never discovered the flaw in having those blueprints, or.
That's an
My
easy
other,
one.
my other thought, well, that's what I'm saying. I by no means, but my other thought was, they were not. The flaw was not in the blueprints, and it was just told to the rebels, to the Alliance, by Jin, and then they had the plans to find where the flaw was. I don't know. But again, not an expert in any means of the way. But yeah, feel free, enlighten me.
Well, I think the reason why they didn't find the plans is, remember, Galen goes back with them.
Yeah.
So they're entrusting in him. If they've entrusted in him that much, think about it. He was so anti, I don't want to do this, and was not going to do this.
Yeah.
And he goes back with them. So apparently they somehow entrusted in him enough, despite.
But that's what I'm saying. You
but-
kill his wife. You take. You go after. You say they're going to go kill his child, and you're going to take him. Even if he goes through with it, and he says in the movie, if I didn't go through with it, somebody else would have, and at least I could control and put what I.
But that was the point.
But why would you trust him then? Then that just makes the Empire seem like a bunch of morons.
Okay, but this is. I need one of you guys to correct me on this. This is my understanding. This is what I absorbed. Okay. Not everyone in the Empire knows about the design flaw.
No.
Okay. Good old White Shirt knows about it. And that's why he hurried up and went back to that planet and tried to maybe figure out where the flaw was. Okay? We get the transmission off. He dies on the planet. So the big secret dies with him because of...
Nobody knows the flaw even exists.
Nobody knows the flaw exists. All they do know is that they have the plans to the Death Star. So maybe they could find a weakness if there was a weakness.
You would have to dig through the entire plans of the Death Star, because in that hologram between the father to the girl, he specifically
says what the flaw
and
is.
They even repeat it to each other.
Well, that's what I was what I was getting at. It's like, because she knows, and she made that. She basically told the Alliance, the rebels, about that, and that's why they ended up having that suicide mission in the first place. Now that they have the plans, now that they can find the flaw that she talked about.
Well, they know where to look for it because she said what it was.
Right. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if was the flaw never included in the blueprints in the first place, and they just needed those blueprints to find exactly where the flaw.
Where it would be.
Right. That's what I'm thinking.
Funny little thing too. You mentioned Family Guy. There's maybe like a fan made this, but it's the architect of the Death Star.
I saw
you
that.
saw that, right? He's like, it's smaller than the size of a Womp Rat. Do you know how small a Womp Rat is? Oh man.
Good stuff.
And think about that shot. It would literally, you see it. It would have to do a 90-degree turn. Like, how does that happen? Like, I didn't take magic using wizards into consideration when building this.
So overall, fans of Star Wars should definitely check this out. It's a great standalone flick.
Yeah.
I agree with that. If you're really into the universe and into this world of these characters, and it's just the whole Rebels, the whole Empire versus the Rebels, and the fight, and just this massive world that was created by George Lucas, see this movie. It's by no means a great movie for, I think, a casual fan. I mean, I think they'll enjoy it. The special effects, everything was great. But I think devoted fans of the Star Wars franchise and the universe will love it because it basically is not the epilogue, but like the introduction, if you will, to Episode 4.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
it's the biggest question when you first watch A New Hope. How did those plans get there? It's
Yeah.
the first thing that pops in your head.
Because it
in the
literally
very
just-
first scene of that movie is, how did she get those plans? So
And
It's a huge
while there
question.
is no scroll or title scroll, pretty much a Rogue One is a New Hope's scroll.
yeah.
Yeah, very true.
Yep.
That is
That's
an
a good way to-
amazing point.
That is a great observation.
Great way to put it. Yep.
Well, gentlemen, we've been here for an hour, so I think it's time we go out. Does anybody have anything they want to plug?
Yes, my buddy's shop, Emporium, and that is Emporium. Emporium 32 in Salem, Mass. They are on 6 Central Street in Salem, Mass, the witch town, and they just make this beautiful jewelry, flasks, all handmade in America. Christmas time is coming, and definitely check them out. Nick and Jillian Perry.
You have to do that while he's plugging, man.
Yeah, so Emporium 32 in Salem, Mass. Christmas is coming. Grab some gifts.
That's awesome. So, good friend of yours. Check it out. Johnny Leather's a friend of the show, so
And
they're a friend of ours.
Speaking of leather, As always, father of his own, Vance and Leather, the best leather jackets in the world. Right down the street, Vance and Leather.
When you go dancing, make sure you're wearing your Vanson.
There you go. The Don. The Don. Do you smell what the Don is cooking? Anything else you want to?
Smell what the Don is cooking.
Anything you got to plug?
Of course. You're in the mood for some good breakfast, nice coffee, nice atmosphere. Stop in at Java House. They're open 7 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. Quick lunches, all very good stuff. It's the holiday season. Chef Don Tap House style. Let me do the cooking for you. We do full trays, half trays, buff mac, steak tips, chicken Mozambique, anything like that. Put your order in. I'll do your cooking for your holiday parties. Very, very good stuff.
Great food. Great food.
Smell what the Don is cooking.
You got to do you're going to have to do it now. Yeah, we do the eyebrow, but now you're going to have to do the microphone at some point.
If you smell what the Don is cooking.
Now we just need the outro music, the theme song. That'd be great. KB, we're gonna plug our stuff, then we're gonna plug our sponsors, and then you're gonna hit them with the catchphrases.
Sure.
So
Hit us up.
let's go ahead, talk about our
So
stuff,
we got
man.
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that
Facebook,
good stuff.
Free Your Geek podcast. Twitter, Free Your Geek. YouTube, Free Your Geek. Instagram, Free Your Geek.
Marvel DC covers of the week.
On our
as
Facebook
always.
page,
Check
Marvel
them
and
out.
DC. Now, the Don is now going to be an administrator on that page as well. So
So
feel free to give him a shout out
look
on
for
the
stuff
Facebook
from him.
page. Yeah, we're all going to be contributing to that. Next week, we have penciled in Scotty Medeiros
Awesome.
is going to be coming in. We're going to be ranking our top. I want to say top 5, but we might bring it down to top 3. But our top 5 movie characters in any genre, and then a quote by them and why they're our favorite characters. So
That's awesome.
Something we might be working into. So Scotty definitely wants to be on. It'll be is it going to be December or January? I don't know. I don't know what the. No, it'll still be December. So
Yeah.
it might be the last show in December. We'll have Scotty on.
Last show of
but,
the year?
Last show
of the year.
Good stuff.
But again, before we go out, you see above KB's head. Let's check out some of our sponsors right here. Keep doing that. Keep doing that. Keep doing it. There you go. There you go. So we have let's let it roll. Phoenix Marketing. You know they're hiring right now. They have some positions. Where can you call if you're looking for a job? Well, let the scroll. They're hiring today. Apply right there at that number. We also have Unique Customs. So if is your computer crapping the bed? Do you need to clean it up? Do you need to have custom logos
Clean
or
out all
custom?
that porn.
Well, that's okay. I took a Wookiee.
Very dirty.
Bad joke. Nobody got that. But Unique Customs, Pachico's Furniture. Check them out. Again, DVDs, Cody boxes, furniture, whatever you need. It's the finest secondhand store in Fall River. So, and if you need help moving, check out that. Give them a call. So those are all our sponsors. Thank you again, sponsors, for all your help. KB, hit them with the catchphrases, will you?
Start your weekend with your geek friends and get your geek on.
For Johnny Leather,
Ah.
The Don, and KB, I'm Jay Free. Have a good day.
May the force be.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.